this stage of camp, how do you feel about your group?
I feel pretty good on the starting point. Yesterday, obviously, first time putting on pads at full tackle is always good. Just see how they'll respond to that. I thought we tackled okay. Too much falling forward, letting people fall forward in the run game. So that part was disappointing. But we got to get better at that and continue to improve at all levels. But there's been a lot of flashes. Those guys come out and work hard. They're a great group to work with.
Is there any position that really needs contact more to get a true judge and evaluation than the linebacker group on the defensive side?
Oh, I think it's just the front in general. Just in the front in general, you've always got to make sure because of what our offense does, throwing it around. Anytime they do hand it off, and those reps to get good on good are like gold. So I would just say it's the entire front.
What have you thought of Deshaun Page?
Yeah, he's done good. He's had a pretty good camp overall so far. He's got to still get himself back in shape and get ready to go. But he's playing hard. Mentally, we've kind of just locked him into the will position, so I think that's helped him. So just trying to get to that point where he was in spring. He's played really, really well in the spring and trying to get back to that spot.
You mentioned full tackling yesterday. I mean, there's always going to be a little bit of rust going from thudding to full tackle, but how do you feel like as a defense, maybe you guys perform, maybe getting guys to the ground?
Yeah, I would say overall, at least linebacker-wise, I think we had three missed tackles, maybe one more than that. But, tackling most times about leverage and pursuit and effort, because one guy takes a shot and misses. As long as you got leverage and you got people getting the ball, that's what it's about. And we're still trying to get to that point where we're playing with all 11 guys at the effort level that we want. And I think that will naturally help the tackling piece. So there was some good, there was some bad. But the number one thing in tackling is effort and leverage. And if we can get that consistent, even when we're tired, that'll help us out.
Of course, got a big jump from Jett Johnson last year. I guess what's kind of the next step you think from him, and how much do you think that experience from last year kind of carries over?
Oh, I think it's huge. I think it's huge that he's got through and he knows he's been in those games and knows what to expect. Jett comes out here every day. He's consistent. He works hard. The thing that you have with Jett is he's highly intelligent, where you can plug and play him. He can play Mike. He can play Will. He can play right or left. It didn't matter, and just figure it out per play. But so he can draw upon all that experience and meticulous notes and meetings. He's going to ask great questions. He's like a computer. You kind of program him, and you got to be careful what you say, because you better program him the right way, because he's got to do what you ask. And so no, that's valuable experience for sure.
Buki kind of talked the other day with us about how you're kind of cross training all these guys to be interchangeable parts. How important is that when you're talking about trying to be successful at that level?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it comes down to this. We got some intelligent guys that played a lot of football in this defense. And so naturally in the spring what we tried to do is truly cross-train. Like Buki really knows how to play all three. He has some reps at all three. Tyrus has reps at 2. Jett has reps at 2. What that does is then you start talking about Deshaun Page. You truly take your next best guy. If somebody goes down, it's not really who's the next best Sam. It's who's the next best football player. Who's the next best Will. It's the next best football player. And then you can interchange your parts a little bit that way. So that's really probably what he was referring to, and it's been a lot of fun to do that with those guys. But even our younger groups, some of them have done that. Nick Mitchell's done that. J.P. Purvis has done that. So that's been a lot of fun to see those guys grow in that area.
You think about a guy like Errol Thompson 2 years ago that you lost, who clearly was a leader on this team, and now you got Buki, and you've got Jett, and you've got Tyrus Wheat, guys who've played a lot of football. Do you feel like now you've got that same kind of leadership again, and how much does that help you?
Yeah, absolutely. You hope so. I mean, those guys have to be leaders for us to be successful. Your best players have to be your hardest workers, and they have to lead by example first. And that's really what I've challenged those guys to do, and they challenge themselves to do. I think the key is, can we do it when we get hit in the nose a little bit with some adversity? That's the key. It's all good when it's out here, but when you get hit in the nose with some adversity, can we make sure we continue that? And I think those guys will. It'll be a lot of fun to see.
You're talking about versatility too, and in cooperation with Coach Phelps, you're taking guys like Timms and others, nominally linebackers are playing at ends, and some of your ends are playing sort of linebackers there. Is it just more mix and match this year, situational packages for this front and the linebackers?
Yeah, well, Timms was with me last year too. It's just when you look at Timms, you don't necessarily think linebacker, but the role we use him in, he's on the line a lot. He's ending up in the line of scrimmage a lot. So it's a pretty natural transition with him.
Anybody in your group surprised you in camp pleasantly?
Some of those young guys. Javay Gilmore's thrown a lot on his plate. He's done a good job. Avery Sledge has shown that he can really run and do some good things in space for a guy that really hadn't played a whole lot of football, especially at linebacker. And then Khalid Moore just plays hard. He's got a long ways to go too. They all do. But those guys, I guess, would be the surprise. Those other guys, JP, Page, Nick, they got to knock the rust off and get ready to go.
Some of the defensive guys I've talked to said you might as well give Nate a whistle because he thinks he's a coach out there. Are you seeing that and how he's kind of running this defense?
I think some of that's just natural with a Mike linebacker, and that's just kind of inherent in the position, in my opinion. And so I think he's taking that upon himself.
I know you've moved to linebackers full time, but it seems like a lot of you coaches are still pretty involved on special teams. I guess just how important is that, to you guys, especially as you saw, some of the games where that hurt you guys last year?
Yeah, 100%. Well, that starts at the top. I'm with Coach Leach. That's his philosophy as far as everybody needs to be involved, not only players but coaches. So we have all the resources to try to be as successful as we can in that phase. And so, yeah, I don't think it's an offense or defense thing. Everybody's involved in that deal with Coach Mealy.
Now that you're into the second phase of camp, what are you asking out of your guys before you get ready for the next scrimmage?
Yeah, keep pushing that wall back from a conditioning standpoint. Because, it's nothing against the strength program. That's not what I'm saying. It's just there's only so much they can do. Once you get out here and play football with pads on, and then you get tempo and things that we're going to get with the opponents, you got to learn to push that wall back and still execute and do your job when you're a little bit tired. That's the biggest thing.